Here you go, your worship.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this Committee of the Whole meeting for February 1st, 2022. I don't have any amendments.
Yeah, we do.
Delegation,
Sorry,
correspondence.
there is an amendment to the agenda. Thank you. We're going to delete YG Land Branch that couldn't make it tonight. And I have correspondence from Minister Mostyn with response to our COVID-19 relief funding for Watson Lake. So with that, if I could have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
I'll second it. Oh, I'll let Dean it. All right.
Thank you, Councillor Hanchar, and thank you, Councillor Paquet. Any questions?
No.
All in favor? Carried. Can I have a motion to adopt the draft minutes from the regular meeting of January 18th, 2020?
Motion to adopt the minutes from January 18th, 2022.
Thank you, Councillor Burtis.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Paquet. Any questions? Comments?
None for me,
All in
thanks.
favor?
Aye.
Carried. Next, motion to pay the open payables of $215,426.36.
Make a motion to pay the open payables to that amount.
Thank you, Councillor Slager. Thank you, Councillor Burtis. Any questions or comments?
Yes, I do. I 60157.
Yes,
What's that for?
that is, we purchased, they've gone out of their catering business and we purchased a bunch of their utensils and cookware
Oh,
for, because now with us running the ski hill in that off 6 months, we have to stock it with stuff. So it was way cheaper for us to purchase from them when they were going out of business than buying new.
okay. And 60173.
173. Yes, so that is the Christmas hamper elders food thing from Christmas. For
Okay. And one more 60183.
183. Yes, so Soft Choice, they're our Microsoft licensing provider.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
What would we have 60173 budgeted as?
Well, that come out of the council, that came out of your council expenses, which your budget, I believe, is 20. I should have quoted myself. I can't even look in the budget here. But I believe your budget is about 20,000 for all council PR stuff.
Isn't the limit $500 on each of those things?
This is the one we usually do the Christmas dinner, community Christmas dinner and stuff out of.
Okay.
So that's where that came from. And there was issues. We had originally agreed to a joint thing with Yard First Nation, and it went sideways. And we were into it at the end, so hence it's a little more than what we actually budgeted for it.
Gotcha.
Any more questions?
No, thanks.
No, good. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. All right, next we have as a delegation, the RCMP.
Yes, so I spoke to Aaron already. Just get back from my Christmas leave or everyone, but so Aaron's off to a bit. So I'm just not sure how that will be, but we'll off for good. I guess this is a resource that we're going to around Pat leave too, so they'll be off for 2 months as well. So we're too short. So I'm just trying to get back into it. So I guess everyone has switched it to the weekly reports instead of the monthly reports we did last time. So only got access to the weekly reports. So it's kind of We did have a couple cyclical assaults that were reported to us this month, but charges were laid in both instances, so there's one was kind of recently, which we get an impaired driver as well this month, which doesn't go through strong rules. So with all the COVID regulations, it looks like it's kind of hampered our community involvement for things that we were shut down. Or something. Member Caitlin here should be doing an introduction here shortly, but she'll take part in the we can move on now. Get Casey to get into introduce yourself.
My name is Caitlin. I have 7 years of BRC. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you can take your mask off if you want. There we go. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Just have to fit in now.
Yeah.
So I grew up on Vancouver Island. I originally posted to Alberta. My second posting, which is the posting before this, was St. Vita, Maine, which is northern BC. And there's a tie to the Kaska Nation there because we also covered Fort Ware, also known as Panacha. They are a Kaska. So I was there for 2 years, very, 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 very isolated post, which you wouldn't think in BC, but you look at a map, you wouldn't think there's anything there, but it's a town of 150 people. I was there for 2 years, just graduated in November. My fiance, 7 animals, got a horse as well that I'm still working on bringing up, but yeah, big family outdoors and animals. So you see me, I'll probably play with horse.
Thanks for the heads up. Well, welcome. We're happy to have you.
Welcome.
Yeah, it's great that you have so many animals. Better check the bylaws on those.
Yeah.
But yeah, welcome. I hope you find some comfort here in Watson Lake, and we're always happy to have new members. We've got, we always say that the turnover kind of sucks, but we get to meet new people all the time, and I'd say 99.9% of the time it's a good thing. So thank you. Cam just pointed out to me today that it is National RCMP Recognition Day. So I will just take a moment to thank you. Thank you for your service. We appreciate everything you do every day. Keeping our community safe is definitely a priority. And and what you do is not easy. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you very much. I won't draw it out too much more. If anybody else has any questions or anything.
I just want to know more about what Quebec was like.
Yeah.
Honestly, incredible. It's Panacha's a little bigger than St. Kate. There's about 250 people there. It's right on where 3 rivers all meet. So they each side of their places got these big, gorgeous, clear rivers, mountains, woods. So yeah, it's part of being like an outdoor enthusiast dream. It's actually one of the reasons I came north. I was originally moving back to Vancouver Island, but I got very used to being able to walk for 5 minutes and no chance of seeing another person. Like 5 minutes, and civilization's gone.
Where are you from, Vancouver Island?
Crouching Bay.
I'm born in Duncan, raised in Nanaimo.
All right.
Yeah.
It's recording, so I won't make the joke.
That's okay.
How is it accessible by land? Obviously.
Yeah, it's a Forest Service Road,
Okay.
350 kilometers of
Ooh.
just terrible road.
It's around like Hudson's Hope or check when the turnoff, right? Or somewhere
No,
around St. John?
Mackenzie.
Mackenzie?
Yeah, turn off onto a logging road in Mackenzie and keep going for 350 kilometers.
Wow. Long drive to get groceries.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Welcome to the big city.
Okay, we're going to keep carrying on. We have one more presentation. Thank you again. Thank you very much.
You did come with hockey,
Kind of, I don't have a helmet.
Me you didn't ask her.
Oh, that's my usual question. I got lost there. Are you a hockey player? Well, I got turned off by it because we don't have hockey at the moment. But we'll have hockey while you're here,
All
so.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll find a moment first.
We can help you with that.
She's a horse person, that's all that matters.
I check all the boxes.
So,
Hey, take care.
thank you.
We'll see you around.
Thank you.
Don't bother pulling over the black trucks.
Or just any of those license plates.
Yeah, just take a mental
Oh, I
note.
come back and I'm
See you.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on, so would be number 5 is the BioLive presentation from Berna.
Good evening, everyone. I first want to say thank you for the opportunity to come and talk about my project in your council meeting. Before I start my presentation, there's a simulation of a for the greenhouse, like a 3D simulation and render video. Can I start with that? It is not very long. It will first basically give idea what is the scale of the operation we are hoping to do. Would you mind?
Sure, that sounds great, Berna.
Okay. Just 1 second. Here, first I started, what I say, share screen, I guess.
It's not on our screen, Berna.
Screen sharing?
Are you screen sharing?
There we go. Ooh, there we go. Yep.
And it looks like pavement.
Internet, not good.
I can forward you guys the YouTube link to it.
Yeah, okay.
Hi, Berna. We're getting it, it's really choppy and the sound is really bad. Can we get you to send us a link to it and we can view it later? Cam has the link, so we'll take a look at it after, if that's okay. Sorry about that.
No worries. In this case, I'm sharing the screen for the presentation.
It just wasn't presenting well. We'll take a look at it after.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you have the screen for the presentation?
Yep. All set.
Oh, okay. So, first of all, who is BioLive? BioLive Limited is, I started this company in 2018 as a sole proprietor and cooperated in 2019, based in Whitehorse. I have been to Watson Lake a few times. I have get the chance to meet Cam and the team in person a few times. And we started actually looking at a power generation project under IPP policy, Independent Power Production Policy. And to make the business case feasible, we needed to find use for the heat. District heating system is always a case, of course, for biomass power plants, but it is costly. I don't know if let's talk about district heating later, but my point was I always have been involved in food production, farming, etc. Basically, we decided we should integrate this project with agricultural component because food security is an issue in Yukon as well as the energy security. So the project basically evolved from just power generation into a agricultural project. At the moment, the biggest footprint of the project, biggest operation of the project is agriculture. What we want to do is we want to do basically whatever we do, we want to do it sustainable. We want to do it environmentally friendly. That's the reason the project has been advanced, bringing multiple disciplines together. When we look at this infographics, it has the biomass heat and power plant, the greenhouse, and pellet production. The core of the project is, of course, the food production, but with our cold climate reality, if we cannot create a sustainable and reliable source for heat and power, we can't really grow anything. So there comes the combined heat and power project. And we are scaling ourselves, not only the need for today, the scale of the project is to meet the demands, because the lifetime of such project is minimum 25 to 30 years, to meet the demands for longer term. And not only for Watson Lake area, this project will be feeding food-wise whole Yukon, and there will be extra surplus tomatoes to export to Alaska. So the idea for the power plant is basically, at the moment, we could only, unfortunately, secure the fuel, the wood pellet, so wood chips, through the fire-killed forest in northern BC. We have been talking to Wildland Fire Department. We are willing to contribute for wildland fire fuel mitigation. I believe it still requires YESAP process, so it will be coming a long way. With the forestry, we don't have a forest timber like supply area management plan for Watson Lake area. That's the reason we are having shortages, even though we have annual allowable cut in high levels. And we have support letters from Yukon government, both from forestry and wildland fire. And when this project is up and running, we have trust in them that the things will be moving in the policy level, and we will be hopefully also providing our forestry fuel for the power plant from Yukon, Watson Lake area, and give the opportunity for the local businesses and local community. Basically, there is a 5 megawatt, 4.9 megawatt electric power plant, which is capable enough to create the base load for the local grid. We have started talking to ATCO in the past, and we are ready to basically start talking to them with the details. And there is the heat element. The main heat use will be for the greenhouse. And the greenhouse will also require actually electricity in winter months, over 8 months actually. We will be using growing lights, and 2 megawatt of the power production will be supporting the greenhouse. And pellet production. When we do the chipping for the power plant, there will be still, barks and treetops, and these things needs to be utilized. We have been pushing for zero waste, and pellets comes in this in here, so we will be utilizing everything. And pellets will be the backup source if there is any interruption on the forestry operation, etc. We will have pellets are easier to store because they are less in value wise, but high in calorific value wise. And the other one, we are so excited, the new other technology we want to use for the pellet is, there will be carbon capture technology. We will be harvesting the carbon dioxide from the power plant after cleaning the flue gases. And the carbon dioxide will be fed to the greenhouse. It will be supporting the yields for vegetables by 30%. And rest of the flue gas will be fed to the pellet production. It will be used for drying process. And we will be basically having close to zero emission. It will be mostly moisture and vapor coming from our chimney. That's what we're pushing for the efficiencies and emissions and wastes wise. So as I say, we are bringing multiple technologies together. All of these technologies are already proven and up and running in lots of parts of the world. We are not using any new technology. But what we are only doing is we are bringing all these technologies together under one integrated project. And it will be on for the first time having this combination of three facilities at the same time, and each of them will be supporting each other and increasing the efficiencies and decreasing the wastes. Brief information about the power plant. The electric production will be 4.9 megawatt capacity. We identified the base load for Watson Lake area is about 3 megawatt in peak hours. And we can adjust the use for the electric in the greenhouse and we can provide base load energy if ATCO is interested in. The outcome for the thermal, the heat to produce that much electricity is about 26. About 6.5 megawatt thermal is for the greenhouse. The other 6.5 is about for the pellet production, and we will have reserved 5 megawatt thermal district energy systems if there is interest. We are talking to Highway Public Works. They have provided us the needs and loads for the government buildings in Watson Lake area. And we are totally capable of providing those heats. We haven't discussed about the infrastructure for, it is early stages still. We haven't discussed about who will be doing the infrastructure for such systems if Yukon government is willing to use our waste heat for heating the government buildings. For the power plant, we are going for thermal oil system, a technology called ORC. It is the most reliable system in the world. It's a proven technology. It is about 30 years old. And instead of using steam, we will be using thermal oil, which is basically safer on running or shutdowns, regulations, etc. And the power plant can be run up to 8,000 hours, but our calculated running hours is about 7,500 because we won't be needing heating the greenhouse. Hopefully in summer months, the climate changes, we are kind of having extreme weathers, but basically the summer months will be basically shutting down the system, doing the maintenance and that kind of stuff. For the greenhouse, the footprint for the greenhouse is 2 hectares, like 5-acre greenhouse. The main produce will be from high to low in numbers: tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, and green leaf vegetables, which is lettuce varieties and spinach, etc. They will be in hydroponics. There will be trellis systems, so it will be also vertical growing. The annual, according to our feasibility studies and the consumptions growing, etc. numbers, the annual production will be about 1.5 million kilograms vegetables per year. As I say, the biggest number is tomato variety. It will be important stuff, of course, I forget to mention. Also for the greenhouse, we are looking at about 20 to 25 jobs, including administrative. And for the greenhouse, it will be again about 20 to 25 jobs, including the administrative people. And our intention, especially for the greenhouses, we have interest on investing in the training, and as many as possible, we wish to employ local through the local community. And my personal interest has always been women empowerment, being a woman, of course. And my target will be basically reaching out to the young woman who wants to learn and earn their life, etc. But of course, we will be welcoming everyone. For the pellet production, the capacity for the pellet production will be 100,000 tons per year. I am aware we don't have such market yet, and there will be also challenges on the forestry on the operation side as we start, because it will be a big operation. We will be installing a higher capacity for the pellets, but I feel we won't be running 100% as we start. The pellet production is important because it will be basically also balancing the power plant in shoulder seasons when the greenhouse needs less power, less heat. The pellet production will kick in. Instead of shutting down the system, we will be having a balanced operation also on the power production side. And I cannot foresee how many jobs it will be creating on the forestry and fiber like harvesting side, but we believe this project will be on the forestry side, direct and indirect. It will be providing about 50 plus new jobs on the ground.
Have you ever been to Watson Lake?
Yes.
The reason I have so many questions, the science is there. Without a timber harvest agreement or social license, I'd say you're fighting an uphill battle. 150 jobs, as I saw something there, you got 25 jobs here of skilled and unskilled labor. When positions at the post office and we talk about goodwill, that they're having issues finding even a cook to make chicken fingers for children at the elementary school at a very decent wage. So I struggle with the idea that you're going to find 150 people capable of pulling an operation like this off. I don't want to sound like the Debbie Downer, but it seems like an awfully big, frankly, pie in the sky.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I'm also aware lots of members of your community has to move to other places because there was not enough opportunity for employment. And I believe such project might create a will for your citizens to come back home. And don't only think about only town of Watson Lake. There are surrounding communities, First Nation communities. You mentioned social licensing for harvesting for fuel. We are not willing to do the forestry operations ourselves. We have experience on energy and agriculture. We have zero experience on forestry. What we have been willing to do from day one is basically providing purchase agreements to the local forestry industry and purchasing fiber. As I say, for Yukon side, the regulations are not set yet, but I believe when we have the wheel turning, when will is there on the public side, it will force Yukon government and First Nations sit on the table together to discuss the future of the forestry for the area. For the forestry, this scale of project requires a mechanized forestry operation. This project is too big to harvest, it's not a chainsaw operation level on the forestry side. So there will be all kind of automate, like fallow benches, etc., for the forestry operation. That's why I said I cannot foresee how many employments this project might create on the forestry side on the ground. I cannot foresee that. But for the greenhouse operation, for the biomass power plant, it has to be, first of all, has to be like trained. We will be most probably have to bring our operators for the power plant from, I believe, BC. BC has experience, but don't only think about the today of Watson Lake. This project, such project in our own town, will give the opportunity for the young people choose the direction to go to the university to study engineering, and that it will be bringing hope. As a result, it will be bringing the appetite for education. And on the greenhouse side, I believe 25 is not a big number to achieve on the greenhouse side, since we are willing to train especially women, especially have the interest on training the women. Maybe I'm very optimistic, but this is what I'm seeing. Yes, it will be not easy to fill those positions, but I don't think it's going to be impossible.
Thanks, Berna. I guess a couple questions. My first one would be like, have you got any headway with Yukon government? Have you set some groundwork for any kind of projects going forward, or?
This project has a few departments. Okay, this project is like refers to a few departments. On the energy side, we have they are eager because they want to displace the diesel generation. Also, it's the goals for climate change mitigation. No problem on that side. On forestry side, I have, as I say, had various meetings. My last meeting was about a month ago. It was a meeting having both wildland fire and forestry branch on the table. And we are aware what is needed, but it is not our capacity. Basically, for a forest supply area management, Yukon government needs to basically step in and bring the counterparts to the table to start discussions about the forestry plannings.
Right.
Why we have to start the project, unfortunately, rely on the BC forestry. Just across the border, there's fire-killed forests on Blue River side and Lower Post side. And on agricultural side, there is no challenge. Our need is water license, and the project is very low on water consumption. We will be having, since it's glass greenhouse, there will be meltdown systems for the snow, and we will be facilitating that. Plus, we will be recycling the water, except the seedlings. When we're starting the seedlings, they only need fresh water.
Yeah.
About the location, we will be coming to the location aspect. The project will need the right terrain, and to keep the chance of district heating system on the table, to keep that option open, we identify the location between town of Watson Lake and the Liard River, the bridge, basically somewhere in midway. This couple of kilometers, which it will be not too bad for a piping system for district heating. But the land identified is Crown land, and it will need a YESAP submission. And our consultants advise to put everything under one YESAP file. And as soon as I basically get the blessing from the town about the location of the project, sometime this week, early next week, we will be sitting down with the land management branch and working on the details.
Recommend LFN first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because without that, you don't, you're just spinning your wheels in the mud.
that was going to be my next question, Berna, is any communications with the Liard First Nation and your land process? Because
Yes, not for the land, but from day one, we have been communicating with LFN with this project. This project actually studies have started during the previous chief, Chief Morgan. And we were actually ready to sit on the table and sign a memorandum, but unfortunately, he was not elected in the elections. With the new chief, within the first month he was elected, we get together, have verbally has, they're interested and eager to see this project, especially with the opportunity of employment. Verbally, we don't have anything in written. With the land aspect, it is crown land. When I was communicating with the Yukon government, they did not mention about anything with the, basically this land application will be required, YESAB application.
Mhm.
We have to provide feedback on that application anyway. Like
Yeah.
we go to them for.
We would.
And it will be basically, I understand the YESAB will be dealing, or basically one of the YESAB will be basically reaching the First Nations, asking if they're okay with the details. That's what I understand.
Well, I think that this is a very interesting project. I'm in the middle of Thomas's comments and your ambitions, like I'd love to see something like this. And I think it's a great idea. Is it feasible? I don't know. And, it seems tough to me. But otherwise, is there any other comments from council? Okay.
She done her presentation.
Are you just about done your presentation, Berna?
Almost. Basically, we talk about the land. I also said in this presentation, yes, we identified the land, but if the town of Watson Lake has any interest on the district heating system and wants to point another location saying that here, look, this is a better for our needs kind of like place, we're open to discuss. And
I would say in the interest of saving time until you get something from LFN, something firm on paper in writing, I'm done listening because
The
I
plan is there
frankly,
is,
I'm sorry.
we can't really find anyone to communicate. They don't have an executive director for a while. We have the last 2 years, I have communicated at least 4 different executive directors. At the moment, no one's answering their phones. Like there is no one to communicate.
Yeah, I understand. It's definitely difficulty. We all feel that. As far as the land part, it is tough. Like we're having difficulties securing our own land for new lots and housing and et cetera because of communications with Elephant. So, we'd love to offer you some options. As you've probably spoken with Cam, and he's probably told you similar things. Like there might be options. There is probably user space, and I don't know if it's quite that sizable, but as far as using district heat as well, we're doing lots of research on what its capacity is and what we can use it for. So, going forward, I don't really have the perfect answer for you. We'd love to stand by and be in support of what your endeavors are until, the YESAB process will be huge. And then, when you could come back to us and, present that information to us and we can deliberate a bit more on what you really need as far as land goes, we definitely welcome to have you for that. Otherwise, I just don't know what else we can really give to you at this point, Berna. I think your project is admirable. Honestly, I think it's huge. I think it is a way of the future for sure. And the more and more the government pushes to get us off diesel, the more and more likely these alternative fuels and alternative energy will come into fruition, if I'm not mistaken. So, is there anything else you'd like to add?
The last slide was about goodwill. Yes, we are having extra capacity for this, like district heating system, but such systems needs infrastructure and we are happy to provide heat, affordable heat at the production cost even. But we would like, of course, the government or municipality takes on the distribution. And in the past, I have come across in Canada, some municipalities are acting as utility for the heat sales as district heating system. And the additional 5 megawatt capacity is basically enough to heat 700 dwellings annually when calculated for 5,500 hours per year. And if the municipality is interested in acting as a utility to sell heat, we are very happy to sit down and talk. And on the other hand, about the infrastructure, there is strategic, what was that called? Strategic investment funding through YG, also through federal government, to support such attempts. I think the funding was 75% when it is the municipality applying. I am 100% sure you're aware of whom to communicate on such topic, but I'm also happy to, the senior business development advisor is dealing with our case in Yukon Government Economic Development. I'm happy to also basically refer to her. She's aware of this project, and but since the Highway Public Works has interests, I also believe they will be very helpful in such attempt if there is interest.
Okay. Well, if you could send us everything you have, Brenna, and we can definitely discuss it. And I don't know how council feels at this exact moment, but we can definitely discuss a bit more and maybe provide you with some feedback of our own on how we feel everything's going. But I just want to say thank you. I know it was a long time to get you here, and I apologize that I missed a couple of chats that we were supposed to have. And I do appreciate you making the effort to present to us today.
No, it's important actually to have the support from the community and the municipality. And I'm aware the YESAP process will be challenging.
Yes.
And you are all the counterparts the YESAP will be reaching. And instead of having them out of blue reaching you, I personally provide information, and I'm always open for anyone who wants to reach to hear more about the project. Okay. And I'm a Yukon citizen every day, day to day. I am these days, especially. First of all, I really hate having bad vegetables.
Okay.
And the shelves have been getting empty, and we will be feeling the after effects of COVID. I say after effects of COVID. COVID is not gone, but basically the logistic and the production line, etc., everything is broken. And the other thing is localizing food and energy is the solution for climate change. That's another feeling of mine, or it's
absolutely.
And Watson Lake is the right location. First of all, you're on the footsteps. You're the gate of Yukon, and you have the right amount of forestry. And I am also aware, as I mentioned, your population is going down because people have to flee for better opportunities. So why don't we create the opportunities at home, bring people back home? I mean, I'm not very hopeless about, I'm hopeful about when I think about filling those positions.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, Brenna, we still have a bit more meeting to go, and that was a great presentation. Much appreciated. Please send us all your information to Cam, and we will definitely provide you with some feedback after we can discuss and decide where we stand on that.
Thank you for the opportunity again, and I wish you a pleasant evening, and I'm signing off. Thank you.
Thanks, Berna.
Thank you.
Take care.
I can't, how do I sign off?
Okay. Did anybody want to add any thoughts or anything else to that conversation, or do we wait for information and discuss it?
I mean, I think we should wait for more information and discuss it properly, but just, I think it's a cool project. And I mean, I agree with, you know, some of what Thomas said, where like, obviously the Arcus Nation needs to be consulted and whatnot, but I think overall it's a really cool project. I like the idea of fresh produce being grown locally, and also any chance that we can to maybe phase out of diesel at some point, even partially, I think is a cool concept. So wish her luck.
I understand the science of it, the megawatts, the power, the waste heat, the greenhouse, the this, the that, the ESF project, getting water, even soil and stuff like that.
Also, that mic's not on. Sorry, people said that they couldn't hear.
I might not on either.
No, however, that many new jobs, where are they gonna live? We won't even sell the house to them because we want like one town employee moving here. So I struggle to employ that many people, or where they're hiding to come out and all
Well,
of
I
a
think
sudden
we
fill these
should
vacant positions.
discuss
It'd be
that.
great, it'd be great. I mean,
Well, once we get all the information, we'll follow up with that and we'll have a bit more discussion around it. But we do want to provide her with some feedback, whether it be support or not.
I would recommend that she get more in touch with the social license aspect.
Try to
of
get
projects.
a contact with it.
Yeah, it's tough.
Or the demographics of the area and realize that it's not a matter of people
I
moving
also-
away due to.
I also recall the last time she was here presenting, and I seem to recall part of the deal being that if you were going to be an independent power producer was that you had to partner with a First Nation anyway. So I think that that's a mandatory requirement of being able to do that.
Yeah.
To create this utility. So it's possible that that's, you know, an inevitable thing. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that we should wish her luck and
Yeah, we'll
and whatever, if that's what you're.
bring it back to another meeting and we'll just, if we need to make a decision to submit on behalf of her YESAB application, then we can do so.
Sure.
Correct? Okay. Okay. CAO Lockwood, you have a short report for us.
It's going to be very short, Your Worship, because today's my first day back to work since our town hall meeting, so.
Great.
Met with the infrastructure branch today, and it sounds like they've received verbal confirmation that our ISIP funding application's been approved. They haven't got anything in writing, but they have a verbal over the phone. So we're very hopeful that we'll have something in writing this week so that the design work can start for the in-ground infrastructure. So we can have boots and the shovels in the ground this year.
It's exciting.
And the dry hydrant consultant was in Watson Lake last week and met with, went out and checked out the properties along the lakes that were recommended for dry hydrants, ruled out a couple locations just due to elevations and issues trying to get to the lake. But had some very good conversations with the people along the lake that are in the areas that are been suggested for dry hydrants, and they're very hopeful that everything will move ahead. They're planning for another trip at the end of February to do the further test drilling on the lake. And then the following stage after that would be YESAB application. So they're really hopeful that things are going to roll along on that front. And so those things are floating right along, and that's about all I have for you today. There's more admin reports coming before next meeting regarding stuff that's in the budget reports or the draft budgets that are before you before the next meeting. So yeah, that's all I have for now. I'm sure there'll be questions after.
Great. Is it all right if we save our questions to council? Okay, This is just for discussion, the 2022 O&M and capital budgets. Any more comments, any more discussion after the town hall meeting? Anything you guys want to bring up? Any discussion at all? Councillor Hanchar.
So, Cam, you told us last time about the increased capability of the flusher truck to also be able to steam water lines in town. And I am still concerned about the competition that the town will be running against the private sector.
Okay, well, for starters, that we don't compete with private sector. The only thing that this flusher truck would have the capability of steaming would be our sewers or maybe some culverts. It does not do fresh water line, which is the majority of the steaming that we do. Sure, there is stuff that they're doing on sewers right now. So the heater on that truck is a standard feature. So that is so that the flusher truck can be used in the wintertime. It keeps the water tanks heated so we can circulate water. It's all stuff that'll be coming in the admin report to you before next meeting. What it'll explain all.
And that'll be before we do the reading on the budget though.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So you'll have that before then. You would have had it now, but I've been off since.
No, I understand that.
So,
Okay.
yeah, so there is an admin report coming on the flush truck.
That was really my main comment. Everything else I think you answered at the town hall meeting.
Yeah, and I can give some insight on the cost of flushing, Your Worship. I reached out to the only company that does flushing in the territory, which is Yukon TV and Inspection Services. The owner is Bob White. I spoke to him and he provided an estimate to do one round of flushing at the cost of $52,228 for one round of flushing.
Sorry, can you get that number again?
$52,228 is what he gave me on a verbal quote over the
To
phone.
flush them annually.
That's one flush. Our
Yeah.
maintenance program that
Twice a year.
has been developed is twice a year,
Um,
and that would come under O&M budget.
Mr. Mayor, can we ask that the minutes reflect the comment that CAO made about not competing with the private sector?
And this company is a White Horse company, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hanchar. Any more questions with regards to the capital or O&M budget? I know that being new to council is sometimes a little intimidating, but it's a great time to ask any questions because it brings to light things that we may not have noticed. So don't hesitate to ask. And if you guys do need to reach out to Cam, he's always available. So anytime you might want to add something or ask how something can be tailored to what you think might need to happen, don't hesitate to ask because that's why we're here.
Oh, sorry, were you gonna say something?
No, Deanie was, and then I was.
One question.
Sorry, go ahead. I'll go.
So I know you were talking about the fleet and we purchase vehicles for that. Is there ever the opportunity to lease vehicles instead of purchasing vehicles? Like what's the
We've actually looked into
benefit
that.
of the one or the
Go ahead.
other?
Yeah, so we've looked into both options and we met with our auditors, BDO, and they said that leasing vehicles is not beneficial to the municipality because we cannot offset the lease costs as a deduction towards operations where a private business can. So if we lease the vehicle, it would be a vehicle payment like $500 or $600 a month for the period of the lease. And then we would just keep, at the end of the lease, we'd have to lease another one. Where if we purchase a vehicle, our life expectancy is probably 10 years on a vehicle. So we would be about half the cost of leasing a vehicle over that period.
And just looking at, did you look at also maintenance in that respect as well? Like, because we wouldn't have the maintenance, it would be go back for, them to maintain, them to provide warranty, them to do all of that in a lease, as opposed to when you purchase it, then we are responsible for all those repairs
Well,
over time.
warranty still.
Yeah.
But the cost of transporting the vehicle back and forth to Whitehorse on a lease for service would be us. So we would have to pay somebody to drive the vehicle to Whitehorse overnight and then come back when the vehicle is ready. So the costs get very prohibitive in a hurry when you start looking at that side of it.
Councilor Paquette, just so you know, I've asked that question several times and drilled administration on the same situation. And, you know, I think too, now that I've thought about it a lot, and we're talking about it today as well, that the size of our fleet too, you know, we're not replacing 50 trucks, we're replacing 10. If it was 50, it might be a whole different can of worms. And if we were in a bigger center, that service would definitely come into play. But I think because of what CAO Log was mentioning, that it is the right process. And we do get a little bit on the back end of, you know, if we get a good replacement policy in place, then, you know, we might be able to get a bit on the back end of those vehicles as well. Oh, that's a good question. Thank you.
I'm just curious if, I don't know how to put this, like, if there's any money that we could put into the signpost force. Of something like to make it better, because it's why people come to Watson Lake. So, I don't know, like landscape a little bit nicer, put some more picnic.
So there was a comment that was made at one point that was a really good one, which was something I thought we were actually working on at one point, but the signpost forest sign doesn't even say Watson Lake on it. So people take pictures of the signpost forest, it doesn't even say Watson Lake signpost forest.
Or like even like a reposting plan, like so when posts get old, you replace them, but don't take down the old signs, like
Transfer them.
And stuff, because you want it to keep growing and you want that. And you want it to be somewhere where like maybe a family will stay the day in Watson Lake instead of 10 minutes and leave. Like, I don't know, that's just my thought. If there's any sort of way or any kind of like funding, like even like gas tax, I don't know if you can spend that there. I'm not sure what you can allocate certain things to, but it would be nice for that, as well as like some sort of form of advertisement, like highway signage to, I don't know, just because that's what people come here to do, and they know, like, just get the word out more and more about it, so.
What is our current, because isn't like, okay, signpost forest, to my understanding is a YPG property, but we just kind of like maintain kind of like a Della and Frank. But it's kind of like in our, we have kind of taken on that caterer's role, I guess, caretaker's role.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that still the same situation that we found ourselves in?
I believe so. I think that YG still owns the land and we maintenance it, which I'm on the same page as these guys, is I think that we should really control that piece of property. I mean, it's ours.
For all intents and purposes, yeah.
Yeah, and we want to see it as something that we can manage, and we've never budgeted anything where, you know, it's minimal, if there is any kind of budget amount for that. So I guess what we could ask is if we could just ask count or administration to provide us with some recommendations for increasing tourist attraction of the signpost forest and the potential of owning and maintaining that piece of property.
Yeah,
That's fair.
that's
We're doing it anyway.
fair.
Yeah, we're doing it anyway, so why don't we own it? Why don't we budget for it? And if it's not feasible, like, I don't know what that might cost us. There might be some costs.
Yeah.
If you make it grow though, where would you make it grow to? Like, and how big would you?
That's why we need
grow
a
it to?
plan.
Like,
Yeah.
exactly.
We need a
That's what I
plan.
mean, but you know, it's,
Well, we do have a piece of property right behind it, you know, the old building
We're gonna put them in the boulevard.
and the county block flattening, you know, we want some parking there. We want to make that an attraction. We want to make it something that can service for potentially a sandy dump, potentially parking for the signposts, right? So there's some space there. But I agree. I think we need to consider that.
Because if we get that land, we can remove the old visitor center too, eh?
That's another
That's-
whole thing. And then we don't want to take on that life.
No, okay, that's it.
That's a cost,
Okay,
huge cost.
well, Well, could they remove it before you can land? Take this Jim coffee. We'll take.
Do you have a comment? I'll go again. My other question, and you may have answered this before, but where did we come up with that number that we figured in for the streetlights? Like our potential contribution in the 2 mile street lighting endeavor? I know, that was just a rough estimate, is it? Or did we know for sure that that's the amount at this point?
The basic estimate that YG received from ATCO was $900 and some thousand. So when you divide
We're gonna
that,
say this is what we have? Puppy eyes?
well, it was based on 1/3 of the cost. for
Yeah.
That 1 kilometer.
Just the 1 kilometer though, right? That's
Oh,
from
yeah, yeah.
Lincoln out to Ernie Shop.
Yes, well.
950?
Yeah. What's that?
Sorry, you said 950?
I believe 900 and some thousand. It was just shy of, for easy figuring, $1 million.
Really?
So
Really?
that's 333,000 per kilometer. So divided by 3, our share was 133. So I rounded to 150 to be safe.
Okay, thanks,
And that was just an initial estimate they had received from ATCO.
for sure.
And do we have a commitment by LF?
So far, there hadn't been, but I have a call with Highways, I believe tomorrow, the 2nd. Hopefully no more.
So is Highways the ones dealing with Elephant or?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
It's not
Okay.
us, yeah, it's their project.
Okay. thank you.
And I was just wondering, oh, sorry, this is actually not for this spot. Well, maybe it kind of is. You can tell me if you want me to ask it later. The application for the Northern Light Center equipment, when do we find out? But when is their decision day for that? When do we find out?
When you read the information on their website, their turnaround is maybe 3 months
The application was put in.
on time.
The 15th, yeah. Okay,
So we're along for the ride at them. We can keep prodding them, but right on the thing, it says, I believe, 3 months.
That's contingent.
right. So how long, so let's say February, March, April. Let's say it goes through and we want new equipment for the season.
We will not have equipment even if it's approved, installed.
That's why I'm just wondering what's the turnaround on that, like to come from the US and have it installed and whatever. So it would be the following year.
It'll be,
That's unfortunate. Okay,
but unfortunately, due to the type of equipment.
probably won't have any,
Will be the same as we operated last 2 years.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So I'm locked down.
Yeah. Due to the world that we're living in, everything takes longer. We're not sure exactly what the summer will bring. We don't know. Should we open the pool? Should we put money into the Northern Light Center? Should we? We don't know. Last year, we were insistent on, staffing and making sure the Northern Light Center was in full operation and make sure that if when people showed up, that they could go there. And then we didn't have any people. So it cost us a whole bunch of money. Yeah, but what do you do? What do you do?
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Plan for the best.
Yeah.
Be optimistic on what we can achieve. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, your worship, we have to budget as if it's gonna be open.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah, no, I agree.
I guess my only comment would be to that 2 mile street lighting, if it, to apply for more money, would it hurt?
well, we can apply for whatever, but it's something we can vary as we go along because it's gas tax money.
Yep.
So, and then we would just have to do an amendment to the capital budget sometime during the year. And I'm sure by the time fall comes around, there'd be something we'll have to amend anyways.
Okay.
Sounds great.
So protective services, the CCAN was being purchased for equipment. Is the building that they're going into then, obviously it's not big enough then for all of their gear?
This equipment, that the storage would be in the CCAN would be like the fireworks canisters, stuff that's used for one-off, that we're not gonna plug the fire hall full of. right?
Okay.
That type of stuff that isn't firefighter.
Yeah, they use once a year.
Yeah, it's stuff that's not applicable to fighting fire.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Would you also clarify for everybody, CAO luck with the $24,000 transfer for our own funds and how that has actually changed and been amended on our O&M budget.
Oh, and
Thank you. Forgot about that.
budget?
Yeah.
So what that is the transfer, is the money would be, that is the transfer from our own funds. So that would be, you said on the O&M budget, right?
Yeah,
So that is using the money that would be left over from implementing, if council implements the new minimum rates for unoccupied property. So that would generate about $45,000 in revenue. I'm just rounding numbers.
Mhm.
And so that would offset what we had projected as a deficit, which would put that other $20,000 to be transferred from our own funds.
Right.
Yes.
So we wouldn't be borrowing, we wouldn't be
We're not running,
transferring.
we're not running a deficit budget. It is, it's a surplus budget.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Slater?
Done.
Done.
Okay.
I think I'm done for now.
Thank you, everybody. We still have some time, so the second reading is going to be February 15th for the capital and the O&M. And then the third and final, hopefully before March 15th.
Would be on the March 15th.
March 15th.
Well, sorry, second reading, February, whatever, third reading, March 15th.
Third and final.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move along.
I won't be here for the March 15th meeting. I'll be in somewhere in Chiapas, Mexico, so chances of me phoning in are next to nil. There's like no
You'll be
Wi-Fi.
in Mexico, I'm calling in.
Chiapas, different area than Puerto Vallarta.
I'll be here.
Just want to let you know.
We could actually,
Will you really?
oh, we can discuss that later. Maybe we should move that one single meeting back a week. Because if we move it to the fourth week of March instead of the third, then we can all be here for that meeting.
That works.
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Okay? We can do that later at a later time, but just a thought. Okay, so we'll move on. Number 8, which is the cemetery bylaw.
All right.
We did have a written submission that was very thorough.
Was there more to it than that one page, or am I missing something?
Oh, yeah, she did all
She
kinds of
did.
stuff.
There's
throughout.
22 pages there.
Oh, I didn't get that.
It's all in the package if you scroll down.
Just
Yeah.
I know it just says 9B.
Yeah.
Click on it, it's just the letter.
Nope, keep scrolling.
And then keep scrolling after.
Keep
letter.
scrolling.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
There's 22 pages.
yeah.
So the submission was lengthy.
Oh.
And it was very thorough. And I would just like to say thank you for taking a very deep and concerned look at the bylaw. There are definitely some great comments, definitely brought lots to light. The reason this is brought to the public is for this exact reason. So none of this has been implemented yet, and this is why we do this process. So there are lots of comments to be amended on, well, not necessarily to be amended. So that discussion has to take place here. And we have to decide and come together on how everybody feels about those submissions and how people have their own submissions. So I don't really have the answer on how to proceed, but if anybody has some comments or would like to provide some feedback.
I think it's unfortunate that we didn't receive more submissions than this. I only had one person reach out to me verbally, and that was in regards to, there's a section in here that says that you can't have things growing, I think, around the gravesite or whatever, and it was from somebody who does have a couple of graves there that they maintain, and they do maintain them very well, with plants that are planted annually. And they bring their own water source as well to look after those things. I guess they were just wondering what that would mean for them. I did make some other notes here. Just hang on one second. Other than that, I didn't really hear from anybody. I realized that we are having this conversation now, and then we do have a bit of time now before we do a reading on it. So I have a little plan to select a few individuals who I actually remember from 2018 term voicing opinions about the cemetery thing. So I'm going to seek those people out. I found them in my notes from then. I'm going to seek them out and ask them to have a look at this. I printed off a few copies. I'm just going to hand deliver. So my comments on the decorations on the grave site, which I think is commented on in here. I think I agree. Like, I think it's really long and like whatever. Basically, this was the thought, develop a policy to hand out at the time when you sell a plot, which outlines what the town is going to do when the decorations become unsightly. So basically, you can decorate the gravesite as you wish, but you are obligated to keep it clean and keep it tidy. And if you don't, then they need to be informed that the items will be removed. Or if it's something like fake flowers like that are deteriorating and stuff like that, like once they're unsightly, they're done. But if it's something like a fence or something that they built around and like the fence is starting to fall down, maybe it's worth like, we give them a one phone call and say, you have 30 days to fix that or it's being removed, kind of thing. Like, I think that people should still be allowed to plant flowers and even trees and shrubs if they want around the area, but it has to obviously fit in with that plan that we, have conceptualized. And I think maybe we could seek, pre-approval before they go ahead and do that. But I don't see really anything wrong with people planting a few flowers around the thing if they're being maintained well. And then the other question I had was, there are a few memorial shrubs and trees already planted there. And I'm wondering if those have been identified and are they going to be removed in the process of landscaping all of this? Because, there are people who have memorial trees and bushes and things like that that are already there. And I think that was my main note. And then prior approval to plant in the cemetery, obviously, if you're going to plant something there, come and just ask. It's probably not a big deal as long as it's not, really interfering with the overall concept. I obviously didn't have a chance to skim all of the recommendations in the submission, but I did catch that one. And I do agree that I think that, I just feel like people should be allowed to put whatever they want there as long as it's clean and tidy, but as soon as it's not, it will be removed. And they just need to know that at the beginning. If it's unsightly.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of my opinion on it, I think.
We have to also keep in mind that we're looking for simplicity in maintenance and, upkeep, right? And I understand the grandfathering of
But
that
people
exists,
have
and
to-
what is there already that needs to be definitely.
But there can be some, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but can't that be in some sort of agreement when you buy the plot, this is how it's going to be? This is the expectation. And if it's not met, just know that we will be removing all the stuff. Or something, I don't know, or maybe there's a better way, but I just feel like it's hard to say.
Your commitment to a plot, basically.
Yeah, we are, like you said, looking for simplicity, and we are basically collecting a fee for perpetual care, which is forever. And we do want to obviously make sure that we are spending our dollars, not just constantly picking up the same trash over and over, but I don't know. Thoughts?
I don't disagree. I've definitely not thoroughly, I've read through the bylaw and it is very difficult.
It's
to get.
long.
There is a lot of information there and it does overlap. And I understand the purpose of it is to make sure we cover our basis, we can't.
Yes.
It has got to be thorough so that we can deal with it as we want, as we can see best fit for the administration. It's for the ease of them to deal with situations as they arise. These things are all there. It is definitely difficult. There is a lot of section around groups or certain, I think we're kind of discussing First Nation burial and different types of burial and what their preferences should be, or if they want certain areas, and it doesn't really separate that too much. It's kind of a all-encompassing, which is great. But I do think we should endeavor to seek some input from our local First Nation and definitely see if we can't implement anything that would make it, again, easier for administration to administer.
Sorry, just reminded me of something. Regarding the fire area, it currently says, if you just said this, forgive me. It says ceremonial burning pit or whatever. Like, I feel like maybe we could revisit the wording on that, because kind of like by saying, well, or just anybody could have a fire there if they want, if they were there by themselves and they wanted to, they're not necessarily conducting a ceremony per se, like it could be, do you know what I mean?
I hear you.
Like, it's not just that. And I think it's kind of makes it seem like it wouldn't be open to everybody, that it would only be open to people who are doing a ceremony. So I think if somebody wanted to go there and light a small fire and just like hang out and, talk to their people or what have you.
And it's a Caspic cultural tradition to have a fire going
Yeah, and
in
so
24 hours until the
It's-
person is.
And so I understand that it is a ceremonial thing, but it just kind of makes it seem like,
It's only for one sector.
yeah, that's all. I just wonder if there's a better wording.
For the sake of time and for the sake of the meeting that we're in, we should. I'm going to ask everybody to submit questions and comments with regard to the cemetery bylaw. Everybody.
I also want you to know, sorry.
So if we could work on it individually and also seek input from the community, because this is a very sensitive topic and we can't just bulldoze it through, right? We want.
I think Diana Shawcross did an absolute phenomenal job picking this apart, and we should bring her on board and actually pay her a stipend to be on board with the rewording, rejigging of this document.
That's what I said when I read this. I was just did. God love
Absolutely,
Diana.
bring her on board.
Oh,
She's taken this with a fine tooth comb and done an excellent job of it.
She did.
And there's certain things as bylaw that I absolutely hated that she addressed in a more eloquent way. So I look at that and say, you know what? Right tool for the job.
And when I read her first page, I was like, that was exactly my thoughts as well, is that it's too wordy, it needs to be simplified, it needs to be something that people can actually read and understand. And I feel like there's a lot of jargon in here that, like, I didn't even get what all of this was meaning, and it really needs to, you're right, Chris, it really needs to be dissected, it really needs to be looked at seriously.
Sorry to cut you off, Councillor Paquette. Well, what I will suggest and ask admin to do is take your comments on Diana's submission. Okay, you guys make your comments on there, agree, disagree, whatever it might be. Submit those to administration, because we've already paid somebody to do this.
Your worship, if I may.
Yeah.
This is a draft that was sent by the consultant. The consultant's still on
board.
board to take back any feedback from us and reword it to the way we want it.
That's where I was getting to.
So that's what we need, is that feedback to give to.
So this is a great starting point from Diane. So if we can get some feedback on this.
Diana.
And this
Diana,
is
sorry.
just a draft still, right? So we have new numbers reading? Okay, so, because I did, like I said, print out a few copies, and I have sought the opinion of a few people. So hoping to get that feedback before first reading.
It's fine.
And your worship, and this, what is written there is based off of 40 some surveys that were completed by the consultant with community members, and the consultant did reach out to the Yard First Nation.
Good.
I'm not sure if they responded, but
okay,
they have reached out.
Well, I'm going to ask one more time because of that same purpose. If we can take what is edited already, agree, disagree, make your comments on the same sheets. Please do some due diligence to talk to the community to find out, get some input. Okay, so that we can get a very good feedback from our consultant. Please. Fair?
Fair.
Fair.
Can someone show me how
Counselor
to?
Slater, you're holding your head up.
Oh, I'm just,
I can show you how to print.
It's printed.
yes, sir.
I can write
We
it.
all have different avenues of people that we can take this to and ask what they might think is appropriate and what needs to happen, right? So I'm gonna leave it at that, because I think we can,
And health director T and health and social team.
Is this time sensitive?
So I can,
I mean, we'd like to get it done as soon as we can.
Yeah, we'd like to
but I mean,
get
but
the-
there's no, like, where's the fire, you know what I mean, like,
Well, the contracting hasn't been done for the upgrades, right? So, and that consultant is still,
Well, because we haven't passed the design.
that's right. So, I mean, we don't want to drag it on forever, but we
Fair
can
enough.
do some due diligence if we can make it. Okay,
Do you have a date you'd like to table it to? So at least we have some guidelines.
sure. Let's aim for
should I do the March meeting when everybody's back?
1st April.
That'll work.
The first meeting in April, which is
April, early in April.
April 5th, your worship.
Perfect. April 5th. Okay,
All right,
so please do some due diligence on this. Ask you all. If it's 2 people that you talk to and get some feedback, if it's 20, if it's the people you're working with every day, as you know, people that might be needing that sooner than later. Anyways, okay, thank you, everybody. We're gonna keep going. Number 9, hockey, curling, ice, and the user groups.
So your worship, this was something that council brought forward and asked administration to look into last meeting. So we have reached out to 3 user groups. And so I can say from curling, the curling board has all had some input, and here's the summary of it. Overall, they would like to acknowledge that the circumstances we find ourselves in are very unfortunate and the restrictions are out of our control. For the curling club, it meant not having our regular league start this month, which last year had 40 to 50 regular players, and they expected similar results this year based on conversations with previous teams. There are also school groups that were coming to use the ice during class time with instructions from their teachers and the curling club members. However, under the current restrictions, none of this really possible. And best they can do is drop in for a handful of players. If this is not enough even for a game, we don't feel that there would be a need to keep ice in for that. But they go on to also say that they acknowledge that wasting money is not in the rec center or the town's best interest. Ideally, some guidance about where the restrictions are going and timelines would really help making the decision, given that new releases from the government always come with short notice and we don't have much hope that will change. If we were told today that the restrictions are lifting next week, we would clearly say no, as they would salvage their league. We would ask that if the ice plants are shut down, that the savings don't just simply disappear into the budget, that the money would be allocated into something that would benefit the community for the rest of the winter or potentially next winter. Winter is hard. COVID makes it worse, and a COVID winter without recreation is flat out depressing. An outdoor rink is suggested by the hockey group, an ice track on Y Lake, or some trail clearing packing for additional cross-country ski trails, or even some reduced fees for ice users for next season or suggestions. To summarize, the club does not oppose the taking out of the ice under the current restrictions. We're basically not using it. This clearly comes with a risk of not having a season if the restrictions are lifted, and we would ask that it is considered in your decision making. So that was from Patrick Von Wiegen, president of the curling club.
Sorry, I'll let you finish.
Okay. So that was the curlers. Minor hockey. Thank you for asking our opinion on behalf of minor hockey and our kids who are very disappointed. We had to postpone hockey at this time. In brackets, until the restrictions are lifted to allow our players to play. Our opinion is no, we do not want to see the ice removed early. We are hoping that the restrictions are temporary and that they will be able to get the kids back on the ice to play before the season's over. Other minor hockey associations in Yukon are hoping to still have some opportunity to put on tournaments for kids, and we are hoping to still have the opportunity to let our kids play, practice, and if all possible, participate in tournaments. We understand there is no guarantee as to when these restrictions will be lifted, but if there is an opportunity to let the kids play, we vote for that option. And so they go on. It's been very challenging based on the current COVID restrictions. So that was minor hockey. Old timers. Sorry. Old timers say that maybe we can get around these rules by putting an outdoor arena. The 15K the town saves could go towards costs involved for the installation. We just need to pick a location to flood, possibly the ball diamond close to the Zamboni. The fire department could easily move money. Still have cold months ahead. So they're pushing that they don't want it out and that we do an outdoor rink so they can still play hockey. Unfortunately, if we put an outdoor rink in under the municipality, it still falls under recreation and the guidelines would still be in place of not being able to have team games. So
So a nonprofit has to do it.
somebody would have to do it, but that still falls on,
We could donate money.
even if a nonprofit did it, you still cannot have competitive games under the current guidelines.
Ugh.
So.
Can we send those letters to? I don't know. It takes so long to get a response. It'll be summer before they answer us anyway. So probably that isn't the best idea, but I feel like send those to the CMOH or whoever is making these decisions. Or ask them for 20 grand.
No, that'll go with what.
We'll leave it in.
Has it here. Administration, we're the 1st of February now, your worship,
It's usually out by what?
mid-March. So
You only have
do we, do we let it go for the month of February and maybe the restrictions will change? And then if they haven't by March 1st, we shut the plant off. But that's up to you, council. I know it's a tough decision because we want stuff for people, but where do you leave it in for 2 weeks? Where do you draw the line, right?
What's the actual cost savings over the next, let's say 2 months?
If we shut the.
Because we've already paid this far, so.
Well, if we shut the plant off, it's probably about $10,000 a month. In the grand scheme.
So he's all 15 grand. Savings.
Has there been any,
Yeah,
has there been any communication from YG at all, any indicator of any sort to, to any sort of hope that there are going to be any changes whatsoever, or has it just been radio silence?
I spoke with community services today and asked them if because they are government, if they have any insight, and they said they're in the same boat as us. They do not know, and that is totally up to the chief medical officer of health and the government.
Okay, given the state of overflow on the lake, so a rink on the lake is gonna be tough because you have to dig snow off, let it freeze, flood it. There's a lot of work that would go into it, and I just don't see it happening. Therefore, I'm gonna make a motion that we take out the ice in both the hockey and the curling. Save the money. We'll shut it down. We'll figure out where to allocate the funds, perhaps the signpost forest, make the town better.
I like what Pat was saying about the, repurposing the funds for something else, recreation related. That can hopefully benefit the people that would be using the ice in another way. Obviously, we can't do a rink like you said, but I don't know if we can look at maybe giving the equipment for free again or something. I don't know. That was something that we did. Sorry.
So to Thomas's motion, I just want to say, we still have to give these user groups notice. So we can't shut the plot off tomorrow because we can't just say, okay, you're done. right?
Yeah,
So we're gonna give them notice, right?
the motion has passed first.
Right.
Yeah, sorry.
So,
Yeah, March, I think, in the,
so if it's gonna be shut off March 1st, end of February, middle of February, we need some timeline because we want to
I think
communicate
March
to the.
first. Because if something does happen next, say, week, that they can still play, then, or even 2 weeks, like, then they have a whole month of February to hold.
Can that maybe the motion stipulate with loosening of any kind of restrictions within the next 2 weeks?
When is supposed to be the next update?
Well, we don't know because even we've been on the mayors and chiefs calls once a week for the last forever. And every time we ask what kind of forecast you can give us to what might happen, they say, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know. We're trying to do this day to day and they don't have an answer for what
I would
may
say,
or may not come.
want to curl, go join the outdoor bonspiel. You want to ski, go skiing, go skiing, go ice fishing.
One of the things that they were talking about with the outdoor bonspiel is actually building a rink in between the sheets of curling sheet. So I don't know. That's something that that can potentially happen. And then people can just go out there and skate if they want to skate, if they want to have a little, 3-on-3 or whatever. There you go. That's one of the things they were talking about.
I don't know, where there's a will, there's a way, but we gotta contact the, because with an outdoor rink, you gotta shell it, you gotta really want to do it.
Mhm.
And I don't know if people really want to do that. People really want to do an outdoor bonspiel, so they'll put in the time and the effort to make it happen.
Yeah.
But I don't know if minor hockey is really wanting to.
Well, they want the ice to stay in though.
But I mean, this would be another option, right? Like how many kids are there actually?
But the bonspiel is not gonna be associated with the town in any which way.
No. But that's what I mean.
No,
I'm just
like-
saying that there is potentially another venue is what I'm just trying to say.
Gotcha.
It's not likely to change.
So, and it's nothing to do with the town. It's nothing to do with, it's just there, right? For people to use as they choose.
I'll second Thomas's motion.
Which was, can you please read it out,
Okay.
Thomas?
Can you clarify too,
Sorry.
what dates, what
Alright.
kind of stipulation?
Motion that if we do not have any, if any COVID,
Protocol.
loosening of restrictions by February 14th, that we shut down the ice on February 15th.
I'll second that motion.
Any more questions or comments?
2 weeks, that's not time.
No, I already said mine.
Okay. All in favor?
I disagree. I don't know.
All opposed?
It's a hard.
So,
it's a-
And all,
Sorry.
all opposed?
Me.
That's a hard one.
It is a hard one.
Yeah, I actually, I will, I'm opposed.
Play
I'm
hockey.
opposed to that motion.
It's a hard one.
Seal's open.
I know, no, I
And
understand.
Alberta.
It's a hard one.
We're still, yeah. That's a definitely difficult thing, so I guess the motion stipulates with any loosening of restrictions, we can revisit that, right? Okay.
Yes.
I'd ask admin just to follow up
So
on February.
I'm sorry, were you in favor?
Yep,
Okay, I just wasn't sure if you were breaking a tie there or not.
I'm not, I voted, so that it's on the record.
Okay.
Because it's a tough one and, there's not a lot going on and we're definitely going to explore avenues to spend that money if we can. Okay, we don't want to beat it over the head. Glad that, that's a tough decision. I don't know. Okay, thank you, Councilor Slager, thank you, Councilor Hanchar, thank you, everybody, for your input on that. We'll keep carrying on. I got some correspondence back from Minister Mostyn with respect to our request or discussion around COVID-19 relief funding. I'm just going to read it to you. Dear Mayor Irvin, thank you for your letter regarding COVID-19 relief funding for Watson Lake. The government of Yukon remains committed to supporting municipalities through this difficult time. In 2021, a contribution of $411,223 in funding was given to Watson Lake through the COVID Safe Restart Fund to provide financial relief and support relating to additional COVID-related costs and impacts on municipal revenues. A plan was developed by Watson Lake that included targeting some of the funding towards anticipated future costs. If there are significant and new expenses due to the new safe and healthy measures that cannot be covered through the municipal safe restart funding or other means, I encourage your chief administrative officer to discuss and articulate them to our community advisor, Michael Prouse, and the director of community affairs, Ben Ushut. They will bring these requests forward internally and we will work to determine if additional funding is available. Supporting our Yukon community is a top priority of the government. Thank you for taking the time. We look forward to working with Watson Lake. For not verbatim, that last paragraph of fluff.
Thank you for reading that.
So it does say that if there's things that we think we can, go after, please
Try.
try it.
Yeah.
All of the recreation revenue, all of the NLC revenue, all of, there's tons. There's tons, because I realize like it's out of everybody's control, but I mean, our taxpayers shouldn't have to pick up the slack. I feel.
Well, tonight's a prime example, like we have to shut down our ice rink because there's lack of interest because of COVID restrictions. It's hard on mental health. It's hard on physical activity. It's hard on our youth. Our youth are struggling probably the most, even though we are probably having a very difficult time. Nobody likes COVID. So if there was funding that we could have to keep our ice plant on, that would be great. If there's funding that we can have to build an outdoor rink and give it to a nonprofit organization to manage. If there was funding to have to buy new ski and cross-country ski track setters. If there's funding we can have to.
I'm sure we can come up with a bunch of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope that we will seek that out.
I would like to go the avenue of youth and recreation. How can you say no to the youth and the recreation side of things?
Other venues that they can.
I just feel like if we're running our operations day to day and we're left with a scenario where we have to borrow from our reserves in order to balance our operations and maintenance budget, that's a problem. So had we not found a workaround that worked around this time, we'd be having a problem. And so I think that we should also be seeking out those revenues that we are missing, because had we not, increased the fees on a lot of people significantly, we would still be in a deficit. And I mean, still are to a certain extent, but so I think you have a valid point as far as like recreation and the kids and stuff like that, because absolutely, but also townspeople picking up the slack.
Businesses and
Exactly.
paying taxes.
So it is the kids, but it's everybody. It's affected us in every single area.
There has to be a balance for sure.
So I'll work with Tiffany and CAO Lockwood to formulate another letter in response to this one. And Councillor Henshaw, would you like to take part in that letter writing?
Sure.
Okay.
Love to.
Anybody else will take part in that letter writing?
I'm all right.
Councillor Paquette.
Okay.
Councillor Slager?
No.
If I have anything to say, I'll tell Laura and she can.
Okay. That brings us to Council Open Forum. General questions, comments, discussions that we haven't already had.
I just have a couple things that I wrote down as we were talking tonight.
Okay.
First one being just a further on thing that Councillor Burtis was saying earlier about the old VRC. Do we know what the plans are for that building and when they will demolish it? Or if are they willing to sell it? Is it definitely Timexed? What do you call it? Condemned?
Yes,
Is it?
it's property management.
I feel like I talked to somebody who maybe did a bit of work there before recently, and they thought that, it wasn't that live inside. I mean, it's old and stuff, and maybe it's like older and derelict for what the government would need to use it as, but I wonder if,
Your worship, from my conversations with my connections at Yukon government, there's two different sides to YG's opinions on that building. One says the building is worth doing repairs to, and the other side says no. So, and last I heard, tourism was still in talks with Liard First Nation about being a tenant in their new proposed building, which I have no idea what's going on because they've dropped off the face of the earth. So I'm not sure. It's their building on their property, and currently, as from the town's point of view, it's not a derelict building. They're paying, it's there, so we have no control over what they do with it.
right.
I think we should have YG about what.
Because we don't own that property, right? That's the thing, that's their property, their building. I was just curious, because we were just talking about that, and I thought, we've never, like, is it just gonna sit there until it is a
Garbage.
derelict liability, whatever, and burned down? Like, maybe that's the, burn our signpost forest down?
There's conversations going on internally with them. They're debating over how they're gonna deal with it.
Okay.
So I know those conversations are going on.
Can I just ask a question in regards to the building, just because we're talking about that? What is it that the town does in that area? Like, what is it that the town does? Does it just mow the lawn or?
Yes. We mow the lawn, we upkeep the signposts.
And we put new ones up.
We put new ones, and if there's signs that are salvageable on the old posts, they're moved to the new post when they're put up.
And the
And
town actually replaces the post? I didn't realize that.
we put new posts in, average year, I believe it's 20 or 30 posts a new year, depends on the year.
We have to pay for the post too,
You betcha. And the installation of the posts.
but yet it's government run. So why are we doing
Well,
that?
no, it's not.
The land is theirs. We have to follow up. on that.
I just,
We're going to.
like, if they were decided that they weren't gonna use that building anymore, I wonder if they would attempt to maybe like sell it to somebody, because I mean, like, how cute would a little like bistro or something be in there or something? I don't know.
Pretty old, but I think it's historic and
Yeah.
probably historic money.
What is wrong with the building inside? What needs to be?
We don't know.
Water damage.
Cam's gonna do some.
Okay, cool. Anyway, I was just wanted to ask that question. My next one was, I have two that are both for Cam, and one was, if you already said this already, forgive me, I don't think I heard it, but how is it going? Have we started, and how is it going moving into the fire hall? And how did it go with the bylaw officer selection?
So your first question, the municipal services building, we are still dealing with the issues with the mechanical system. YG has sent a legal, had a letter drafted and vetted by legal department and sent to the contractor for clarification and advancement of fixing the issues. Apparently the electricians were supposed to be on site this week, and to try to,
Still really hot in there?
well, only when it goes in failure mode.
Oh, okay.
So, and it didn't fail since, I forget what.
Every power bump though, pretty much.
Yes. But they have hired BJ Services to do daily building checks. And if there's a power bump, they go and reset it. And they're doing all that daily monitoring. So I wish I had an answer as to a date that we get to move in, but I'm not accepting it until it's right. So
Fair enough.
unfortunately, I agree.
Yeah,
That's
thank
where
you
we're
for
at.
that.
Just,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure because of all the snow removal and stuff that had taken place. I wasn't sure if that meant we were moving.
And your next question was the bylaw position. I shouldn't say I have, but we have, because there was more than myself, have completed interviews, and I'm prepared to offer the position to one of the candidates, but that's where we're at.
How many
Before
people?
you do that, may I read something from the municipal act?
Sure.
Section 186, 1, a council may by bylaw establish one or more designated municipal officer positions and appoint persons to those positions and delegate powers, duties, and functions to to those persons and revoke the appointment of persons to those positions. So maybe we should go on camera before we figure out who that person is.
I don't think he was about to tell us.
No, it wasn't about.
Yeah,
anybody.
because that person doesn't know
How
yet.
many people, sorry, did
He hasn't made the offer
There
yet.
was six,
Gotcha.
there was,
He selected someone that haven't made the offer yet.
there was six, was it six applications?
and then how many interviews?
We cut it down to
One? Okay,
Thank you, Cam.
thank you.
Oh, also, person on council.
We're in an open forum. I'm
Council open
Go
forum.
ahead.
Go ahead, Tom.
The rec committee got together, and if anyone's interested, I could read you off what was approved. Under
Is this the emergency intake?
No, that's coming up.
Okay.
That's what I was gonna mention as well.
Oh, okay.
So the rec committee got together. It was the last intake of this year's funds. We did not use up all the money. There's a little over $8,000 left over. So if you know anyone that is in need of equipment, help, funding, please direct them to the town to pick up an application. What was approved was $2,200 to the ski hill, $3,054 to minor hockey. Ninja Training applied for $4,000 for some equipment, but due to shipping and whatnot, the amount came to $45.68,
Mhm.
which we approved to the full amount because we had extra money left over, so it made sense to spend the funds that we had, and there's also a section that says that we are able to do that. And there was also the $500 for John Reese for timers for the rodeo association, I believe.
Cool.
So for a total of $10,322 was allocated. The exact figure of what was left over was a guesstimate, but there definitely is money. And so any user group that you know that might need some help,
What's kind of guesstimate?
like a little over 8,000, but probably under 10.
So in that year, sorry.
Yeah.
So that's where they have the emergency intake, which is what date?
Yes, I think February 15th is what we were shooting for. We're going to reconvene and look at the applications that have been submitted in the next 2 weeks. So February 15th, I gotta check my phone. But
What kind of things can people apply for under that?
there's a lot of it is, you have to be a group generally.
in good standing.
Yeah.
It's not the resolution.
We can probably get you a copy of
Good
the
standing part is,
regulations.
as long as if you're a group or organization, you can't be like a business and apply for something.
Apparently the things on the website,
There's that too,
the, what do you call it? Eligibility.
Just thinking about, when we were talking earlier about the kids and, making sure that there was maybe some money spent on different things. Is there any way that some of these groups could then apply for some of these things that we were talking about earlier?
Yeah, sure. Good.
Yeah, groups could, for sure.
Like, so
just
like
not us.
talking about, what was that, ski track machine or whatever for making,
Rec Center.
yeah, like,
That would probably apply. If it was like the outdoor riding or the outdoor rec.
Outdoor rec, it says outdoor rec has two. They actually they have a new one.
Oh, they haven't done already.
There's lots of options available for all these clubs to apply, so.
Golf
Yeah.
Association needs a mower.
just thinking about, we could potentially get some of those groups to apply for some funding for the kids, because COVID's not going away.
Make
That,
sure to mention it to those groups.
Your worship, even though Councillor Slater has give a verbal report, that has to come back on the agenda for formal approval.
Okay.
and the outdoor bonds bill, can they apply for stuff like that? Like, is
They
there,
already have-
They have in the past, yep.
they have in the past, okay.
Really good point, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about that because they haven't applied this year from the look of it, right? They can only apply once a year, right?
I think if there's money left over, you can even apply twice.
Okay,
Preference will be given to first-time applicants.
Right?
Preference will be given to people that have not tapped into that fund in that current fiscal year.
thanks, Councillor Slager. Still in council open forums, or anything else? Okay. You sure?
Well,
Nina?
No, I'm okay.
You think you're okay?
No, actually, there's one thing. How do we, so, okay. So how do we make people who have said they're going to commit accountable? Like, it seems like we are spending money that other people said that they were going to chip in on, but then they negate on that. Like, how do we make that happen? Because I'm just thinking of like the hampers, you said that was more and the counterpart didn't. So what do we?
We just unfortunately learn from it and do not commit to doing anything with that group again in the future.
Or make sure it's very clear, written and documented
Well,
and,
it was, my staff has written emails back and forth, but in the end, when they left us hanging, there's no recourse financially for us.
Still has to be paid.
No, and I understand that, but I'm just thinking of accountability, right? And like how we go forward and how we make sure that like we secure that funding first and then we move forward, as opposed to going forward, expecting it to come and then it never comes. I guess, I don't know how you.
Yeah, and that's where we thought we had it in writing from them. But
as far as from mayor and council side of things, we really don't have a whole lot of say or control on that. We have to trust that they'll do the due diligence to make sure that doesn't happen. And it's not that they didn't do their due diligence, it's just, yeah.
No, and absolutely, but it's just, we do a lot together. Like the reality is there's so much intertwined that it's hard not to say that we won't do things again because we're immersed in it.
Yeah.
So that's just where I struggle with some of that, because we also still have to be fiscally responsible for what our funds and where they're going and how, and I think that was a great venue for sure. I mean, I did a ton of help with that, like on both levels, like when LFN was doing theirs, when we were doing ours, but it's just trying to be fiscally responsible to everybody, because we have to be, right? Like it's, anyway, and that's why I voted the way I voted, because I know we have to be fiscally responsible, but I also, with this, pot of money that we have that groups can access, right? The outdoor, what is it? The recreation fund? Lotteries, sorry, that's a light at the end of the tunnel, right? That there's money left over and that groups can apply for that. And, so that is kind of makes it feel a little bit better, because, yeah.
So, sorry, just side thought. Apologize for interrupting. The way the motion reads is that if there is a change in about your thing about the ice. If there is a change in the restrictions, the listing of restrictions within the next 2 weeks, then that
could be
no longer stands.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we have 14 days.
Well, there's a meeting on the 15th, so.
Yeah,
Okay, we're gonna keep moving.
all right.
Thank you, Janina. I understand where you're coming from. It's difficult. Gallery open forum, huge gallery this evening, so I'm gonna get to it. Karine Zazula, do you have any questions or comments regarding any of the discussions tonight? Are you there?
No, I'm all good, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Karine.
Thanks, Green.
And I believe that's Patty.
Hi, thanks. At the start of the meeting, you said that the Lands branch couldn't attend tonight. Were they not expected to attend by Zoom?
Yes, they were expected to attend via Zoom.
So what was the problem? Why couldn't they attend by Zoom?
There is some developments that they wanted to work on before presenting to us.
So do we have a timeline? I mean, this is a very important issue to all of us. So Is there any timeline on this?
I don't know if they gave us a timeline.
Your worship, they're hoping to have something maybe for the, in the meeting, the beginning, where are we, within 2 weeks or the beginning meeting of March is what they told me. And they're gonna update me weekly as they move forward.
So if we're not gonna, even have a discussion about it until the beginning of March, what's the likelihood any lots are gonna hit the market this year?
Optimistically,
0.
no, it's tough, Patty. I'm sure you can understand the position that we're in and that the constant conversation we're having with lands and with other government agencies within the area, that things are difficult and we are always pushing. So, as I'm sure you are.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Thanks, Patty. Is there a question there, Cam? I
No,
can't read
that
it.
was Michael just saying that he was going to cut off at 7.
Okay. Okay, with that, was there in camera that we need to attend to?
I don't know.
No, I think you just said that because,
Just making people aware.
yeah, but we, no, your worship.
Okay, good. Good. Okay, motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I will second that.
Thank you, Councillor Henshaw and Councillor Paquette. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.